morning, Jen continues our series of stories called Learn to Swim, Save a Life. You know, it's really interesting because there are an alarming number of adults who live here in Florida, we're surrounded by water, who've never learned.
Kenton Giles is one of them. You know, he was playing with his two young daughters last month in a pool near his Tampa home. He was in the shallow end. He lost his footing and he drowned right in front of his daughters because he didn't know how to swim. We don't want this to happen to anyone else. So we've partnered with the YMCA to show you how adults learn to swim and why it's never too late.
Hey, Bruce. Hey, Jen.
Robert Brown produces our 7 a.m. newscast. He writes many of the stories Bruce and I bring you every morning.
Accused of robbing a Brentwood.
So he knows how often people drown in pools or die in rip currents. Yet,
Never learned how to swim.
Robert nearly drowned as a child. And while the water scares him, living in Florida, it's hard to stay out of it. He admits he goes in the ocean up to his knees and...
I've been to pool parties. I just try to make sure that I don't get in too deep.
Robert is like a lot of non-swimmers.
Like everyone else thinks it'll never happen to you.
Knowing how risky that is, he's now learning to swim. And it's not just for himself, but...
If someone I love is in that predicament, I want to be able to save them. I want to be able to react. I don't want to be vulnerable. So I think it's important.
One of the first things I tell them, an adult, when they get in the water, is that if you struggle, you're going to go. You're going to go down.
Cindy Party is a veteran instructor at the YMCA. She starts Robert with the basics, all in 3 feet of water. Getting him comfortable first, just putting his face in the water.
Get bubbles or air in his lungs so he'll float up.
So he doesn't panic when water splashes his face.
If you just relax and don't panic, no matter what happens, don't panic, and you'll be able to float.
Next, Cindy works with him on floating. After just 45 minutes of his first lesson, Robert is now confident enough to step away from the wall and kick to the side. This is a big part of learning how to swim, teaching Robert how to get himself to the side to stay alive.
That's what really helped me kind of make my way underwater.
And after just 4 classes, look at his progress. Face in the water, using his arms and legs to swim.
Awesome.
By the final lesson, he's not only swimming, he's jumping into the deep end of the pool. And that's not all. Look at this.
2 weeks ago, couldn't even put my head in. Now? Just swim the entire distance.
A smile that says it all.
This is a day I never thought I'd see in my life. Swimming is one of the biggest fears I've had in my life, and 26 years later, to sit here and say that, hey, I can actually swim now, it's unbelievable.
So unbelievable. So proud of Robert. You know, he took a group lesson with Micah Barnes, who you just saw. In fact, we introduced you to Micah yesterday, another co-worker of ours who learned how to swim. We shared his story in the 6 o'clock hour. But we've posted both of these stories on the morning show, and we're getting just already, just even from yesterday, getting a lot of positive feedback. It's amazing how many people don't know how to swim. Go to news4jax.com. There's a link to the WISE website as well as a phone number that you can call to sign up.
I've got to ask you, Robert basically said, you know, I've had a lifelong fear of wanting to... Is this something that he wanted to learn to do, even though he was afraid of it?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, you and I were really kind of trying to talk him into it, too. I mean, we had to work with him for about a month just to get comfortable. But, you know, he wanted to do it so that he could save someone else if it ever happened where somebody got into the, you know, in the pool. And then he also said, you know, he has a bunch of friends who are going down to Ginny Springs. And he's like, oh, I told him I couldn't go, and now he can go. It's like it's changed his life completely in terms of the quality of life that he can live now.
Robert's in our ear talking to us right now. We are proud of you and Micah and Julian and everybody else who learned how to swim, because if for nothing else, if not for you, you know, you could save a loved one. So that's really important.